Welcome back to r/best of Redditor Updates, where real stories are wilder than fiction. Today's post comes straight out of r/off my chest, and honestly, it left me speechless. My boyfriend went to jail for my butt. Yep, that's the actual title. Now, before your brain starts running wild, let me just say, it's somehow even crazier than it sounds. It involves a perfectly normal relationship that spiraled into obsession, a public meltdown, and an arrest that still has me secondhand embarrassed. The story starts like a lot of Reddit heartbreaks do with love. OP and her boyfriend had the kind of relationship people envy, until things started to shift. A weird fixation turned into something darker. And then came the Target trip that ended with handcuffs. Let's get into it, because trust me, you'll want to hear how this all went down. Hi, I'm a 24-year-old woman, and this is about my now ex, Ryan, 26M. When we first started dating, it felt like one of those relationships you only see in rom-coms. He was sweet, always texting good morning, randomly dropping by with coffee, constantly reminding me how beautiful I was. It felt like he saw me in a way no one else had. I'm pretty introverted and not big on attention, but Ryan made me feel safe, cherished, and he was funny in this kind of goofy, charming way that kept me laughing. We met through mutual friends at a board game night, and honestly, I thought I hit the jackpot. But about 3 months in, I noticed something odd. He kept complimenting my body, but always with a strong focus on my butt. At first it was harmless, even flattering. He'd jokingly call it his favorite view, or say he needed a license to carry a weapon like that around. I laughed it off, until it started happening every day, in Texas, in front of friends, at random times when we were just walking around. It wasn't even flirtation anymore, it was fixation. I remember thinking, okay, he clearly likes it, whatever. But a little voice in my head started wondering if this was normal, or if it was crossing a line. Things were about to get a lot weirder. It started subtly, then escalated. One day he made a joke about how my butt deserved its own name. I thought it was just him being silly, until he actually started referring to it as the legend, in public. As in, gotta make room for the legend when we sat down somewhere. Or, the legend enters the room when I walked into his apartment. I'd roll my eyes, but he genuinely meant it. And it didn't stop at naming. He would randomly salute it. Once, in a grocery store aisle, I bent down to grab cereal, and he stood at attention and saluted like a soldier. A couple near us stared. I wanted to disappear into the frosted flakes. At restaurants, he'd ask for booths because he needed a private view. At parties, he'd position himself so no one else could look at what's his. His words, not mine. At first, our friends laughed. Then they started giving me looks. My best friend pulled me aside one night and asked if I was okay. She said it seemed like he was a little too focused on me in a way that felt controlling. I brushed it off. I told her he was just quirky. But deep down, I knew something wasn't sitting right. When even his sister made a comment like, "Dude, she has a personality too, you know?" I knew I wasn't imagining it. I just didn't realize yet how far he'd take it, and how bad it would get. The first time it really scared me was at a coffee shop. We were standing in line, and I felt someone behind us glance in my direction. Ryan noticed too. Without hesitation, he turned around and said, "You got a problem." The guy looked confused, said nothing, and backed off. Ryan stepped toward him like he was ready to fight. In a coffee shop. I grabbed his arm and told him to stop, whispering, "It's not a big deal." But he wasn't hearing me. His eyes were white, like he was proud of himself. "No one disrespects you like that," he said. "I'll always defend you." Except, there was nothing to defend. The guy just looked in our general direction. Ryan had created a threat out of nothing. After that, it happened more and more. If a waiter complimented me, a guy walked behind us, or someone looked too long, Ryan would snap. Sometimes it was just glaring. Sometimes it was muttering threats. But always it ended with him saying he was protecting me. At first I thought he was just being overprotective, but then I started dreading going out with him, because I never knew when defending me would mean something worse. It was a Saturday afternoon, just a normal day. We were at Target picking up stuff for the apartment, laundry detergent, candles, snacks. Ryan was actually in a good mood for once, being playful. I let myself relax a little. I wore leggings and a hoodie. Nothing fancy, nothing tight, just comfortable. We were joking about which frozen pizza to get when I remembered we needed paper towels. I walked ahead of him, down the aisle, crouched down to grab a big pack off the lower shelf. That's when I heard it. "Damn, girl, that's a whole buffet." It came from behind me. Some random guy. I froze. Before I could even turn around, I heard Ryan's voice, loud and sharp. "What the hell did you just say?" It was like a switch flipped in him. I stood up fast, heart pounding. I tried to grab Ryan's arm, but he was already stepping toward the guy. The air got thick instantly. The stranger looked surprised, maybe even amused, but Ryan's face was red. His hands were already clenched. "Ryan, let's just go," I said quickly. But it was already too late. It happened so fast I barely saw it. The guy laughed, just a little, like a scoff, and that's all it took. Ryan punched him, hard, right across the face. There was a crack sound that made me sick to my stomach. The man stumbled backward, crashing into a shelf of canned soup. Cans clattered onto the floor. A woman nearby screamed. For a second, everything froze. Then chaos. The man tried to stand, clutching his nose, blood dripping between his fingers. Ryan stood over him like he was ready to swing again. "Say something else," he growled. "I dare you." People were yelling now. A Target employee was already calling security. I ran between them, shoving Ryan backward and yelling at him to stop. "What are you doing?" He didn't look at me. His eyes were locked on the guy, like he couldn't even hear me. "That's my woman," he said loud enough for half the store to hear. "No one disrespects her." Security came rushing in. One of them blocked Ryan while another checked on the man, who was now sitting on the floor with blood all over his shirt. Another employee was on the phone. I already knew who they were calling. The police showed up in under 5 minutes. I stood there, frozen, while they handcuffed Ryan. He didn't resist, just kept muttering about how he was doing the right thing. One officer asked if I needed help. I didn't even know what to say. Ryan turned his head toward me as they walked him out and said, "I'd do it again for you." I couldn't even look at him. I still can't believe how fast everything happened after Ryan got arrested. One moment, I was standing frozen in the middle of Target, and the next, I was sitting alone in the back of a police car, watching the flashing lights reflect off the store windows. The ride home was silent. My mind was spinning. Was this really real? Had I done something wrong by being there? Could I have stopped him? Once home, my phone started ringing non-stop. First, it was the police department, asking me questions I wasn't ready to answer. Then, a call from Target's management. They wanted a statement about the fight and told me Ryan was banned from all their stores. I felt a mix of shock and embarrassment. What had this become? Then came the worst part. A call from Ryan, from jail. His voice was strained but oddly proud. "Hey, babe," he said. "I'm locked up now, but it was worth it. Your butt's worth it." I hung up without a word. I couldn't believe what I'd just heard. How could he think this was okay? How could he say something so ridiculous after what he'd done? I sat on my couch, the weight of everything crashing down. My boyfriend was in jail because of my butt. It felt unreal, like something out of a bad movie. But this was my life now. When Ryan got out on bail a few days later, I thought maybe we could talk. I needed answers. I went to see him, hoping for some clarity, some sign that this could be fixed. But he just laughed it off. "It's love," he said. Like that explained everything. I was protecting what's mine. I looked at him and saw something I hadn't noticed before. A stubborn refusal to take responsibility. No remorse, no apology, just excuses. That's when I knew. This wasn't the person I loved anymore. I told him I was done. I couldn't be with someone who thought violence was acceptable. He exploded, called me ungrateful, obsessed with his honor, and accused me of making him look bad. His words were cruel, but I didn't care anymore. I hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. It hurt, but I knew it was the right choice. I couldn't stay with someone who put me, and my safety, last. Ryan was officially charged with misdemeanor assault. The police filed a report detailing everything, and Target confirmed he was banned from every one of their stores nationwide. It felt like a public record of the nightmare I was living. The strangest part? People started recognizing me. Online forums, social media, people called me that girl from Target. Strangers at the grocery store gave me looks like they'd heard the story. Even friends I hadn't talked to in years reached out, curious or judgmental. I wasn't sure which. It was overwhelming. Suddenly, my private pain was public gossip. I tried to remind myself it wasn't my fault, but it was hard when the world seemed to want to define me by one awful day. Still, I refused to let this define me. Ryan's choices were his alone. I was going to move forward, even if the story followed me. In the end, I learned how dangerous obsession can be, and how quickly love can turn into something else entirely. After everything, my mental health took a serious hit. I stopped going out as much, avoiding places where I thought someone might recognize me or whisper about what happened. I felt anxious all the time, like eyes were on me, judging me for Ryan's actions. I even considered therapy because I knew I needed help processing all of this. Sometimes I wondered if I should have seen the signs sooner. Those weird jokes, the odd behavior. For a moment, I blamed myself, thinking maybe I pushed him too far or didn't stop things early enough. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized it wasn't my fault. Obsession like Ryan's doesn't happen because of anything you do. It's about the other person's issues. Slowly, I started to rebuild my confidence. It wasn't easy, but I reminded myself that I deserved respect and safety, not control or violence. Then, out of nowhere, Ryan sent one last message. It was ridiculous. A silly drawing of a cartoon butt with hearts all around it and a note calling my butt life-changing once again. Reading it, I finally understood something crucial. Ryan never truly loved me. He loved an idea, an obsession, not the real person I was. I laughed, then deleted his contact for good. No more messages, no more weird drawings, no more excuses. It was time to close that chapter completely. Looking back, I've learned a lot. Obsession is not love. Protectiveness should never make you feel scared or unsafe. I'm healing now. I've started going back to the gym, seeing my friends again, and most importantly, wearing whatever makes me feel good, without worrying about anyone's reactions. It feels good to reclaim my life. I'm no longer defined by Ryan's actions or the chaos he caused. My butt and I, we're doing just fine. Stronger than ever, actually. Obsessed with a butt it leads to jail? That's next level strange and seriously scary. But hats off to OP for standing up, breaking free, and healing from something that could have destroyed her. This isn't just a weird tale. It's a reminder that love isn't obsession, and protection doesn't mean control. If someone's willing to fight for your butt, make sure it's not a felony. And if it is, well, maybe time to run, not walk, away. OP's bravery is real, and that's the best kind of story.